Welcome to Credentialed Coach School, the podcast designed to prepare your mind, body, and soul for a dreamy coaching business. I'm your host, Amanda Bybel, founder of the Inner Beauty Bible and Credentialed Coach School. Each week, I'll share strategies to elevate your coaching career and to chat with successful entrepreneurs on what it really takes to grow your thriving coaching business. Take a deep breath and let's get started on building your dream business. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Credentialed Coach School podcast, the show where we aim to dive super deep into the journeys of super inspiring entrepreneurs, leaders, change makers. Today, I am so freaking excited to have a truly incredible and very special guest and good friend, Lori Harder. So, Lori is a powerhouse entrepreneur, best-selling author, and founder of multiple successful businesses. She's known for her absolutely incredible work in the personal development and wellness space, and Lori has empowered thousands of people to take control of their lives and build the futures that they dream of. So today we are going to be talking about Lori's entrepreneurial journey, her starting and pivots, and now her newest venture into Glōci. And we're going to be gaining insights into her journey, creating impactful products and businesses, and all of the amazing things. I am so excited to have Lori today. So be sure to tune in, share, like, review, all of the things. Lori, I am so excited to have you. You have no idea. We did a swap. We decided to do a swap in a couple of weeks ago. I was chatting with you. I'm like, I cannot wait to continue on this conversation. You are just a vibe and a half. And I am so excited that I got to meet you in person and that we're here just chit-chatting about all things entrepreneurship. Can you just let our listeners know like who you are, where you come from, the journey that got you to like who you are and what you do now?
Well, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for coming on my podcast too. And thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course.
So much fun. And yeah, you guys, I got to see her at Entreprenista do some let's see, what did we do? Visualization, breath work. What did we do? It
We
was
did
amazing.
tapping. It was the tapping,
Tapping.
remember?
Oh my God, tapping. It was amazing because I was speaking later that day and I was like, oh girl, that was exactly what I needed. So excited to be here. I just love how events like that can connect people
People
so quickly
together.
to this. And I'm
Yeah.
sure we'll chat about that, but I want to point that out.
Yeah.
So I am an entrepreneur, a founder, podcast host, author. But really my career started in fitness and I come from a really small town. And it makes the small town even smaller when you're in a more restrictive religion because I wasn't allowed to associate with anyone outside of that religion. So majority of everything I do is about helping people kind of break through their past beliefs and programming of their families, and also how to create a network that's going to support you for where you're going because majority of us do not have the support of our families or current friend circles in order to go where we want to go.
Isn't that the wildest thing when you think about it? Like the people closest to you. I actually just did a post about that where it's like almost it's mind blowing when the people closest to us aren't as supportive of it, but that's what we know, and that's the hardest thing to break free from,
Yeah.
right? Like what we already know. So can you talk a little bit about how you were able to sort of work through that cycle of like what you've learned through the people around you, whether they believed a certain thing around what you were doing or how you got like sort of like leaned into that resistance, I guess is what I'm at.
Oh man. I mean, well, for me it took a lot of years to break through that just because it was such I think when you come from the really religious programming too where it's like you can only hang around these people your whole
Mm,
life, and if you leave you'll be like removed from being able to talk to anybody that you
yeah,
ever knew and grew up with, even your family members.
yeah.
So I think my journey took a lot longer than most people's can take because there was that programming of just like, you're gonna die if you leave these people. Like
Yeah.
truly like very deep, like deep beliefs with that. So for me, it all kind of boils down to the same thing with how I started to like work through that. And it really was like finding these different personal development communities,
Mhm.
some of them online at first, some of
Yeah.
them binge listening to podcasts, some of them books. And then when you kind of like consume all that and you get the concepts, that's when I believe personal development really needs to transform into community development, meaning you need to go into a community of people because you can no longer kind of get to where you need to go and break through to the next level without doing it within a group of people, because you don't really get to practice what you're doing until you get in these rooms that really are a lot of the rooms that you can go in personal development. Like if you go to a personal development event, or let's just picture
Right.
someone like Gabrielle Bernstein, Tony Robbins, you know, Jack Canfield. I don't know, you name some people who are out there now, but it's like those were a lot of the rooms that I had to get in to go and like practice. And
Yeah.
so I think it's really important to go be in the rooms with similar people to you who are like, oh my God, I'm overcoming the same exact thing. Like, let's talk about it. Let's like role play. Like, as corny as that sounds, like
Yeah.
that is so many of the moments and things that got me like to break through the realization that so many other people were dealing with the exact same thing. And
Hmm.
also, okay, so, you know, maybe you need to have a really hard conversation with your mother and it's like she's not going to take it well. I've absolutely role played conversations with people in the rooms, like working through that
Yeah.
so that I knew how to like manage my emotions, because those are going to be the only ones that you can manage
Right.
throughout the process, and how to have it.
Yeah, so there's like this, so basically your imagination is stronger than your willpower, and the power of visualization is like insane.
Mhm.
I know, like for me, when I first started out on my journey, I come from like a corporate background, nothing like what you were talking about, but still it comes with like conditioning, especially with like our geographical location.
For sure.
Like in New York City area, like it's just like this cutthroat like way that you're supposed to like live life. And for me, I was feeling like really nervous and really scared about taking the next steps in my journey. And it felt very isolating. It was like
Mm,
I felt so guilty for wanting something different than what society told me that I was supposed to be or do, or the society that I grew up in, right? So for me specifically, like with getting into a community and investing in personal development programs and getting into rooms of people who like got it actually
yeah.
made me feel so seen
Mm,
and so heard for like the first time in my life, because I felt guilty for wanting more. And like what I had on paper was good. It was great, right?
totally.
And being
Totally.
able to take those steps was like a scary thing because everyone in my life thought I was crazy, which I'm sure you
Totally.
can relate with, right? So when you were taking those first steps, like in the personal development journey and like getting into different communities and things like that, what was something that you looked for in order to like know that that was the right room for you to be in?
Well, I think kind of back when I was doing this, I didn't really
Mhm.
know what to look for.
What
It
to
was
look
just
for?
kind
I
of like
guess you kind of
there
don't
wasn't,
know. You don't know what you don't know, right?
yeah, and there wasn't a lot to choose from. Like,
No.
you know, this was I think some of the first rooms I went in were like 2013, 2014, and it was a lot of, I mean, it was amazing men, but it was a lot of men like doing personal
Mm,
development, you know?
yeah.
So I guess the first one, how I really knew what I, okay. So the very first one, sorry, I blacked out this one because I was like, oh, wow, that was way beginning. I went to something called Landmark Forum. It is still around, and it's
Yes.
really about like busting through like limiting
Yep. Hmm.
beliefs. So I went to that because I was at a place where I had so much anxiety and I was having horrible panic attacks, and I had gone to the doctor and asked for like therapy for it, and they put me on drugs. And so the drugs were not working, so they put me on another one. That one gave me side effects, so they put me on a third. And for anxiety and panic attacks, and it still like was not working. What
Yeah.
it did was I still kind of felt it, but I felt so numb, it was scary. And I actually had a moment, and this is when I started seeking like alternative methods, personal development, because I had watched, it was like I watched a movie at home, and I remember like it was like the character had like lost everyone in their life, like their family, like their partner, everything. And I felt so numb. I couldn't even cry if I wanted to. And I'm like, this is a very emotional part of the movie, and I can't feel anything.
Right.
And so that was my wake up call of like,
Mhm.
Okay. And then I pictured like, would I even care if something happened to my family? And I'm like, I'm not sure. I was so numb. Like your receptors are so
Like
numb.
it's crazy. Yeah.
It's crazy to think about. And now there are definitely people, I just want to say there's definitely people who need medication, but I was asking for a therapist, not for medicine. And I took the
Right.
medicine. I was like, great, Band-Aid. And then learned, the hard way, like, wow, that did not work. And I just lost a year of my life thinking that all of these different methods would. And so I really got into personal development by way of accident. Actually, I said to my husband, because he was working in a bigger, like a bigger community at the time. He was in mortgage and finance and worked at a big bank. And so he had access to more people. So I said, would
Hmm.
you just like go to work on Monday and ask around like who's done anything
Put
that
your
can
feelers out there.
yes, like help with anxiety or someone who has a therapist or something like
Right.
what would this be? And so like he comes home. I don't even know if it was in the same week, but he's like, "Hey, my coworker went to this thing called Landmark Forum. I told him about like what you were dealing with and he said that this would absolutely help." And he's like, "He couldn't really explain it, but I think we should just go." So I was like, "I'm willing to do anything."
Okay.
So I go and like Chris goes with me and he's like so not all about
I
it.
was just gonna say, like, he went with you. That is a die hard, ride or die.
I
Wow.
know.
That's
He was like
amazing.
not about it. He's like, this is for you and these crazy ass people.
Yeah. Sounds like
But then
that.
on like the second and third day, he was like, okay, I can like see how this could be super helpful.
Right.
Anyway, you're essentially in a room of different people trying to break through patterns and they're going through all of these different you're seeing how number one, you're not alone.
Mhm.
And number two, you're like hearing about, you're able to spot yourself in the room, essentially other people dealing with the same exact crap as you. And
Right.
I think that's part of what helps with, anxiety, fear, launching your own business, all the things. It's like the problem is that fear and anxiety grows in isolation. Like we know this
Mhm.
shame grows in isolation, all of the things.
Yeah.
So you get in a room with other people who are all dealing with the same thing. It's like you're not that special anymore. You're not that unique.
Which
It's kind
is
of like
so
we're all
great, right?
afraid.
It's like the best
Yeah, it's
thing
the best
ever.
thing ever. It's the best.
Yes.
And so I end up like having some really big breakthroughs in that room because one of the things that they made me do is they're like, okay, if anybody has anything else that they want to deal with, like come up on the mic. Well, my anxiety is around being in front of people, like public speaking and even like talking even at a dinner of four people. Like I have
Which is
so much
wild
social
because that's
anxiety.
exactly what you do now is like public speaking and create these
Yes.
rooms and like that's like what your superpower is. So okay, sorry for
I mean,
interrupting. So like
I
tell
love it. And I love that you pointed that out because number one, we teach what we need the most.
yeah,
And we are also, there's that quote about like you are your best position to serve the person you once were. And like who
yeah,
better to talk to all the people who feel this way than me who got through it. So it's
right.
like, what are all the things that I did? And it was, the personal development and all this stuff. So anyway,
Yeah,
like, is there anyone in here who wants to like say something they want to get through? Like we're running out of days. You know what I mean? It's like
yeah.
literally almost the end of the like last day and Sunday's all about something else. So I jump up like my body jumped up before my brain could act and I just like went up there and stared at the mic and I just broke down crying and I'm like I have anxiety and panic and like that's all I could say. And
Yeah.
I'm crying in front of a room of like 100 people and he starts talking me through it. He's like just kind of like telling me to breathe and get grounded and all of the things. And he has me look around the room and,
Mhm.
then he asked the room like questions like, okay, who feels like her? Who did this just help?
I'm just
Like
raising their
how,
hand.
and it was like so insane to see. And uh, it's like I got one moment of understanding what it would feel like to be calm up there because then you get right like he's like told me then like look out at the crowd, look at how everyone actually wants to support you, look at how they're all human beings like. And so I felt for the first time in my life in front of 100 people, like I'd only done this in front of four or five before that,
Right.
right? Like I had a moment of reference where my body was totally calm, where I
Mm,
felt really like in control, where I felt clear that we were totally all connected, where I felt on purpose and like, wow, just me coming up here, crying into a mic and losing my shit actually helped people.
yeah.
And so when we go in these rooms and do things like that, what we're actually looking for that we don't realize is a reference point of relief.
Mm,
Like, can I do this scary thing and get through it? And
yeah.
so that room served as the one reference point. And so I just started seeking more rooms like that where I could recreate a scenario of what scares me out in the real world
Yeah.
and actually play it out in front of people. So I went ham, like I went to everything. for a very long time. And I think that when you just do that over and over again and you practice all these things that you're afraid of and talk to so many people who have the same fears, it's like it's really hard for your fear to live through that.
Eyes in
And
the
don't get
light.
me wrong. Yeah, it's the best. And the thing is like I still get very nervous to public speak, but I just still have or I have so many tools now. Like I literally
Right.
have tools and tricks and prayers and I mean, you name it. I've got a bag of tricks. So and that's the other thing. I think people think like find your fears and get rid of them or conquer them. It's like, no, find your fears and support them because a lot of times they're
Yeah.
not going to go away. They're just, you're going to get the support around it.
Yeah, and oh my God, I love that so much. Find your fears and support them. For me, what I like to do too is like look at the fear and like just be curious. Like, what
Mhm.
is it representing? What is it that it really wants? And what is it masking for me? I feel like with the fear, it's like when you face it, like you're slowly healing parts of yourself as you go and speak in front of others and show them like there's a Marianne Williamson quote that I read earlier. It's like basically by liberating your own light, you share your light with everybody else to liberate theirs or something to that
Mhm.
effect or whatever. But I absolutely love that so much. Like just desensitizing it too, right? Like the more you do it, the
Totally.
better you get. And I think so many people, like in the beginning phases of their entrepreneurship journey, or they're maybe aspiring and thinking about it, they look at people who've been at it for years. And they're like, oh, they're natural at it. Of course, they're good at it. Of course, they're successful. But what they don't realize is that in order to become a natural at anything, takes practice. It takes facing those fears. It takes getting up on those stages over and over and over again and really putting yourself out there in a way that is fucking scary. Right. And
Totally.
doing it anyway. And then it becomes not less scary, but more like you can kind of predict like the blackout that's going to happen when you
Yeah, it's like more a part of your normal
it's more
life for
normal.
sure. Like
Exactly.
athletes still, I think of like, because my husband loves football, like they all get pregame jitters. Like they might have been playing for years, and so many of them still feel like they're gonna barf. For some of them do, like still, because it's pregame. Like
Yeah.
we are actually meant to get that rush of nerves because it's energy to sustain you for what's coming.
Mm,
So it's like, you can't go get on a stage in front of 10,000 people without getting like essentially your body's trying to prime you because it's like you're about to go perform.
right.
Let's make sure that you like the nerves come in. And honestly, it's like there's science to it. It comes in and says, okay, we're going to give you this rush so that you not only like get the energy, but it's going to amp you up. And also so that your body does what it's supposed to. Like there's reasons that you feel like you have to pee or that you might crap your pants because you're supposed to go do that before you do the thing.
Right. Like
Like,
all the bodily functions at
yes, it's
one
like
time
let's do it all and then I promise you on stage it's like when runners like run marathons. It's like their stomachs turn off literally for a while.
yeah,
Like you
it's like your body.
will everything will just kind of like take over for you. You just have to trust that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's the truth though. I remember the
Mhm.
first time I ever even went like live on Instagram, I literally thought I was gonna have every bodily function happen at the same time. And then afterwards, I'm pretty sure I like puked. Like I was so nervous. But then I realized there was no volcanic like explosions, no lightning
No.
came to strike me down, like nothing globally happened. Like I was fine. I survived. And then each time
Mhm.
you do it, it gets a little bit easier, even though it is scary, like every time you go out there and speak and stuff. So now that you have reached the level of success that you're at now, you've been at this for around a decade, right? So
15 years.
wow, 15 years. So a little over a decade,
Yeah.
the better half of a decade and a half.
Right.
You've made pivots. Like you started in the health, and you're an author, you are a guru in this like online space, and now you are pivoting and have this product. What would you say like all the challenges that you face like throughout this journey? Like what has kept you going? Like what has been the thing that's been like your North Star every single time? Like anytime a challenge or an obstacle comes up and you're like, no, like fuck it, like we're going at it, we're doing this and we're gonna conquer the world.
Hmm. I mean, throughout the years, it's always been different motivations, right? Because like
Hmm.
in the beginning, it's just like, oh my God, I can't live this way anymore. Like I know I'm meant for more, but I don't know what that looks like, but I have to figure
Right.
that out. So like in the beginning, it's just like this gnawing, nagging of your soul going, you're meant for more,
And for more.
figure it out.
Hmm.
And so I think when people don't hear that, it's literally because maybe they're not eating great yet. They're not moving their body. They're drinking too much. They're hanging around crappy people. They're consuming way too much social or Netflix or whatever. Like you have to kind of like go on that first, like the first spiritual journey for me of like even hearing that was working out and starting to learn how to take care of myself. And I was
Yeah.
like, whoa, wait a second. Because our bodies are vessels, they're channels, they're
Yeah.
conduits. They're conduits to what we're actually connected to. So whether you believe in God or universe or whatever, it's like when that conduit is all funky from people or food or not moving, like you're not going to hear anything. So if you're like, whoa, not hearing anything, it's because we're not really like taking care of ourselves and doing the things that we need to hear that. But
Right.
that first motivation was like, whoa, I'm meant for more. The second was, okay, I've done these little things. And then
Hmm.
what you wanted to always do once you've had a transformation is you always want to like it's natural. It's just a part of it. You want to reach back and you want
Hmm.
to help other people get
Yeah.
there. And so all of a sudden you are getting like high on this purpose and fulfilled on this purpose of like, wow, I can help people do what I just did. And so I think when you do that, you realize that you can help a lot more people in
Hmm.
different ways. And I think the motivation for me changed all the time because at first it was like the fitness journey. I wanted to help people transform. Then it was like the personal development journey of, wow, you don't have to be in this much pain. Like we can have some like say over our emotions. We can have some say over our relationships. We can have some
Right.
boundaries. Wow, this is like insane to me that we can do this, like come from this family and then be able to like learn how to set these boundaries and have some emotional freedom in our lives. And then the next thing for me was, oh my gosh, okay, now we have this taken care of. Wouldn't it be so cool if we could make a lot of money and not have that stress anymore or not have
Yeah.
the stress of like our families? And then so then that goes, whoa, could we make even more and help people outside of our families? And then
Mm.
it's like, oh my God, could I help all of these women reach their like wildest dreams, which can also start this ripple effect of, even more incredible things in the world. So my motivations have always changed. And I always tell people, like, don't feel bad about the bait in the beginning being
Yeah.
something that feels selfish because I actually think that's what I don't think I know that's what we're supposed to experience is wanting it for yourself at first
Yeah.
because you have to take care of your own needs and your own desires before you go, oh, that wasn't it. Like I got those things, I took care of those things. Those are important baselines, but that wasn't the thing that actually fulfills me. So never
Right.
judge the bait because in the beginning for me, the bait was like, I remember I was at a checkout line multiple times in a
Mhm.
grocery store, and I'm like, I just don't want to make food decisions based off of what is the cheapest. Like, I'm like, I want to make it based off of what's the best for me, what's the healthiest,
Yeah.
what's the best for my husband and my family. And I just remember being so upset. Like, I can't believe I'm sitting here wasting time going, should I buy this organic one or not? Is my husband going to be mad at me about the grocery bill or not? And that was my first point of like, I don't want to live this way. And then it was also like my parents were always struggling. And that was like, okay, I want to be able to help them. So I think that never judge the bait, even if the bait is like some of my next bait was like, God, I want to go into a store and buy a dress I want without looking at the price tag. Like,
Right. And that's
great.
okay. But that's okay.
It's actually great because
Yeah.
it just teaches you how to get to the next level,
Hmm.
which good people are going to quickly realize, like, okay, great, we took care of that. That's wasn't it, And there's
Right.
such great things. And let me tell you how freaking wonderful it is to actually buy things you like, not based on the price tag.
Right.
Huge, but you'll keep going on that journey.
Amazing. I love that so much. And for anyone who is like new and aspiring in their entrepreneurship journey and they're like just starting out, how would you maybe encourage them to tap into what their North Star is?
I mean, again, I think what is right in front of you, what those desires are, is really important in the beginning.
Hmm.
I think that, because we did network marketing for years. We're actually still a part of a company, but we did 14 years in network marketing and we were top performers for like 10 of those. And so I will say I have seen, we had hundreds of thousands of people in our downline. So we have
Wow.
talked to, been in so many rooms with
Yeah.
people who the message from the stage was always like, you have to know your why. That was
Why? Like, know the
always it.
purpose. Yes, I know it.
We lost more people who were in the beginning stages because they felt like they were supposed to have some big why of like saving children in Uganda, except they couldn't even like pay their bills.
Right.
So I actually think like knowing your North Star from the beginning is not, you can have a general idea, but like do not get stuck there. I say
Hmm.
just know what you want to do in 6 months. Like that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And what will happen is the more that when you start to reach those small goals in the beginning, it's
Mm.
going to open up for you. Like, just trust. Don't feel like you have to answer to anyone around your like biggest North Star. Like, you don't even have to focus on that. Like, just focus on like, what is the most important thing for you that you want to do in the next 6 months? Like, what would feel really, really good, even if it's really small? Because my truth of my journey is like the small things are the big things.
Yeah.
And the more that you stack the small things, the more you start to be able to do more small things that become big things.
Yeah.
So that's what I would have gone back and told myself. Some people are super lucky and they get clear on it right away, but I found that it was a lot more rare.
Yeah, yeah. So like the clarity comes through something I say all the time is like the clarity that comes through the action. Like you have to just know what's
Amen.
the motivator that's right now, not what you imagine. Like I don't even know what my 5-year plan is.
I don't either.
Like I don't even know what my 1-year plan is. Like let's be honest. Like I
I have
know
a
what I'm
general
looking at is
idea of
like
my 1 year plan just because of this company, but other
yeah.
than that, I'm like, that's going to totally change too.
It's going to change. The
Yeah.
tides shift. The sales are going to go in a different direction. I like to think about in the beginning, like there was just such a, like there's been such a long journey and it's been evolving over time. And it's like meet yourself where you're at right now, right? And like where you can begin,
Yes.
like make it make sense to you, not anybody else. So I like that you
Totally.
figured that out totally. I think if I would have known that in the beginning, I wouldn't have put so much pressure on myself to have this purpose of, like you said, like saving people from like other parts of the world where I couldn't even like I couldn't see I couldn't even like,
Can't
bathe.
save
I
yourself.
couldn't
Yeah.
save myself. Like I was just like I was such a shit show in my own
Right.
world. Like how was I going to take care of anybody else? But where I started was what made sense for me and where I was able to teach what I knew. And
Yeah.
that I think is the most important thing too is like just starting where you're at, you know,
Yes.
starting where
Oh
you're
my
at.
gosh, it's why so many people say like, if we all just focused on like ourselves and our current like close-knit family, how much the world would change. It's
Hmm.
just we're so focused on even like trying to do other things or not paying attention to the little things that are most important. And I think we get really, really lost and overwhelmed. So
Yeah.
taking your eyes off social media and what you think you should be doing and just like, hey, like checking in more often. I know you're such an advocate for that, like for
Mhm.
yourself. Like
Yeah.
what do I need right now? What is the most
Right.
important thing I can do this week, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was actually something I saw today where they encouraged the person to make a list of like 10 of the goals that they wanted to achieve in the next like month or two. And they looked at them and they said, okay, well, which one of these will have the most impact if you achieved it by tomorrow? So it was like circling the one to start with and then allowing the other ones to kind of snowball after that first goal was achieved, which I thought was pretty cool.
That's so good. I got such I'm so glad you just reminded me of this. I had such great advice from somebody who came on the podcast. It was some of my favorite. Fortunately, I can't remember who. Um,
It'll come to you
but
later. It's usually how it works.
I know he said every day he writes down three things that he needs to do the next day by level of importance. And as long as
Mm,
he gets like that top one done, then he has like a full on winning day, winning schedule, winning year. Like he's like, you
love that.
can't imagine how if you only did one thing the next day, like literally, he's like, woke up, didn't even like do anything else in your business except the one most needle moving thing that you can do,
Mm,
you would be well on your way to an amazing business. Except we avoid that all the time.
It's insane, right? Like we avoid
Mhm.
all the things that are going to move the needle, and then we wonder why a year from now we haven't accomplished the things that we want, right? No,
Yeah, it's like, okay, what I mean, if we just said like what's the most important thing right now for you and I, we could be like, I mean, I can guess one of them would be like making sure we really build an email list. And I know this, but is that my one focus all the time? No, but it should be.
I mean, I
Yeah,
mean, scary. It
exactly.
makes the most sense, right?
Totally, totally. But it's so easy to avoid.
Yeah, totally. So before we wrap up, I want you to talk a little bit about Glōci because I know that's something near and dear to your heart right now. And I would love for you to like talk to the listeners about what's going on in this new product-based business that you have because it's a big change from a lot of the things that you've been doing up until now, like a big pivot, right?
It's a really big pivot outside
Mhm.
of I did do network marketing for the 14 years, so to me it doesn't feel that different because I've been selling shakes and supplements for
Yeah, yeah,
years.
yes, and but now it's yours.
But it's mine.
But it's
Yes, you're
yours. So
absolutely
yeah,
right. So it is totally different in terms of that, but I did get to like practice the skill set and sales and team and all of that, like understanding how to like incentivize people. So I'm taking a lot of what I learned from that and putting it into this.
yeah,
And tweaking it into an affiliate program. So it's very,
so
very
fun.
exciting as well. But Glōci is a beauty routine that you can drink. So essentially a skin routine you can drink. So it is skin and gut ingredients, and it's called Glōci Skin and Gut. And it started because I had my own need to want to have my hydration product do
Mm,
way more for me. So I come from the health and wellness background, like been
right.
in it forever, like literally that's where it started. One of the OGs with a membership, all the things. Had a cookbook years ago, like was super, super into health and wellness. And even me, who was really into it, is someone who like gets overwhelmed, stops taking all my supplements because I'm
Mm,
like, what the hell do I take? And I hate taking all these pills.
right.
And so the one thing that's been really consistent for me throughout the years, though, has been hydration packets because they
Mm,
help me drink more water. And
mm,
so one day I was like looking down at my hydration packet. I'm like, what am I actually drinking in here? Like, why
right.
doesn't this do more for me? And so I'm like, wow, I'm drinking really expensive salt and sugar. But for some reason, like this packet has been a consistent norm for me because I know all of us know we should drink more water.
Yeah.
And so a flavored water helps us drink more water. And so
Mm.
I surveyed a ton of my friends. I actually got to go into one of my friends group. I got to go in the Boss Babe group and like
Oh
survey
wow,
them on, do
yeah.
they take a hydration packet? Do they like, how are they using it? Like, what are they taking the most of? So I learned like hydration packets are extremely like consistent for people.
Yeah.
And so that was locked in. I'm like, okay, I love the vehicle as a
Mhm.
packet in your water. We want what we want to look for. What I wanted to look for in this round of creating a product was what is something, a habit they're already doing.
Mm,
So that it wasn't like I was creating a new habit for them. I was going to make one better. Like, what is something they were
genius.
already doing that was daily?
Yeah.
And that could also go on subscription because let me just tell you, I will never do anything ever again that's a product without it being subscription because it's life changing. It's
Yeah.
so much easier to nurture and educate that customer to stay on a subscription than it is to go find a new customer. And
Right.
it's a lot cheaper as well. And it just helps sustain the company in the beginning. Like, oh my gosh, you can't imagine when those subscription go through in the beginning how grateful and relieved you are to like get that funding in your account as you're growing.
Right.
So those are just some tips. But
Yeah.
also for the hydration packet, back to the original question, it was like I wanted my hydration packet to do more for me. I was like, why do they always look super broy, super sportsy, or super sciencey? Like, why
Mhm.
don't they do something for women? Like, why don't we? I know that our goals, because I surveyed in there like what our main goals were, and they were all based around wanting to feel lighter and look better. Like that, they're like, I'm drinking water because I know it's good for my skin.
That's
And I
fine.
also like, I feel like I'm not digesting my food properly. I don't feel as good as I think I can. So we're like, okay, what does lighter mean? Because that was a word that just kept coming over and over and over in the surveys.
Okay.
And we're like, lighter is when you're digesting properly. Like lighter is when you feel like you're going to the bathroom. Lighter is when
Mhm.
you feel like you're not bloated. Like, so we really went to town on the ingredients for skin and gut to make you feel lighter
Yeah.
and have glowing skin. So I'm really excited about it because the reviews are insane. That was one of my favorite things ever with this company is like I can just go sit and read the reviews and cry. Like they're so incredible because you do all the work to hope that it really makes all the changes that you want, but it's not until you
Yeah.
see how much it's affecting the community that you're like, this is so cool to create something out of a need, do all the research, really ask your people. And I think that's why it's working is we really asked, like we didn't just decide, like
Right.
we asked over 6,000 women. So like
Yeah.
that's a lot of
And
work.
but it made sense to you too because it was something that you were already doing. So it was
Mhm.
already in your heart and soul and you met yourself where you're at with it
Yes,
too, which is huge. And it's obviously why it makes sense for you, you know?
totally.
I love
And
that.
it changed, I mean, like it's changed my life. Like I'm obsessed with it.
Yeah.
Community's obsessed with it. It makes me feel way better. I feel like, I am all about because I'm it's so weird. We're all getting older.
Like, how does that work?
I know. I'm just all about like, I want to look good too. I want to feel good.
Yeah.
I want to feel lighter, especially with the work that we all do. You want to feel good in your body. So, I'm about those simple little habits that can bring you back to center as well. It's just
Yeah.
like the moment of, okay, I've had so many moments where I'll have a crazy day or I'm like, oh my gosh, when you're so frustrated and you're like, I don't even know what to do next. And you're just like, or feeling really bad about something. Like my personal self-talk a lot of times, like, okay, just go drink some water. Like, let's reset. Like, let's get outside. Let's
Have a
just like
drink.
go drink some water.
Yeah.
Like,
But
because
like,
it gives you a minute, and it's like go do something good for yourself and get
yeah.
back to yourself and go listen to yourself. So that's why we create it and that's why I love it so much.
I love it. So, Lori, this has been an absolute pleasure. I'm so happy and grateful that you came onto the podcast today. Where can we find you? Where can we follow you? I'm going to link everything below, just but for any of our auditory people who like to hear it.
They can go to getglōci.com, GETGLOCI. And I don't
Okay.
know if you want to give away a coupon code, but they can use
Sure.
coupon code HAPPY
Okay.
for 25% off their first subscription order. So I would love if you guys would go try it.
Amazing.
And otherwise, it's just all Lori Harder or Earn Your Happy for the podcast to listen to your podcast because you were so great
Ooh.
on
Yay, amazing. And any last message or takeaway or words of wisdom that you want to leave everyone with?
it. I believe in the power of community so much. I mean,
Okay.
that because it really is the thing that transforms you and gets you through to where you want to go because
Mhm.
if you can't spot it, you can't be it. So it's about, getting in the rooms where you can see that.
Yeah.
I believe in it so much. We added, like, I get on an hour call with the community for Glōci every single month, and it's been like one of the most exciting things. So it's like,
Amazing.
free one-on-one coaching essentially or one-on group coaching, which has been so fun. And I think it's been cool to watch the women like feel like they have possibility.
Yeah, no, I love that. Thank you again so, so, so much, Lori. For everyone listening, we wrap up the episodes the same way every single time. Remember, you are you, and that is your freaking superpower. Like, share, review, subscribe, all the things on all the places, and we'll see you here next time. Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to Credentialed Coach School podcast. If you like today's show, please give us a 5-star review and tell us what resonated most with you. This helps me to continue to create content that you love and find supportive.